it looks like Saudi Arabia is seeking to somehow develop some type of a amicable relationship with Iran. I think that what's happening here is that you are dealing with a regional issue where all of the common enemies of Iran are potentially looking to Russia to hold Iran at bay.
Yeah.
Because of the increase in rhetoric of destruction that's actually happening. And it's getting to the point right now where it's hitting media. There's a lot more people actually talking about it, right?
Right.
And what's even more interesting is when all of this started going on, right? When Iran and Saudi Arabia were beginning to make a deal, my initial statement, and people thought I was crazy, was that Putin had his hands all over it, right?
Yeah.
Now the mainstream media is saying that China is the one that's brokering this deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia. But the reality of it is, we know that China's doing it at the bequest of Russia. We know that.
Yeah.
We know that's what's going on. So it's very interesting to stop and consider. When you start looking at like the articles being written by The Hill and many Politico and many of these other places, they're all, God-hating mainstream, whatever you want to call it. They're all looking at this like it's in essence some kind of a favorable move forward that's going to increase the general security of our world. When in reality, I think all it's going to do is literally accelerate us into Ezekiel chapter 38.
It kind of makes you wonder the timing of the third temple and where this all plays in, because we do know that for Ezekiel 38 to happen, right, Israel will be in a place of peace and security.
That's right, 100%. And think about this too, Monkey. It's funny that you bring this up, right? Saudi Arabia will speak directly to Russia, Iran, Turkey. It will speak to the conglomerate of nations that attack Israel as though they are familiar friends.
Yeah.
And they'll say, hey, dude, what got in your mind? Like, what are you guys thinking? So to see an article about some kind of a deal being brokered between Saudi Arabia and Iran, all that does is shows us that the amicable relationships that we see implied in Ezekiel 38 are beginning to form, which is something that no one ever would have even began to think would be happening in the near horizon.
Yeah. Also, I think the fact that Saudi is talking to Iran, that makes it very interesting in terms of Israel's ability to attack Iran, because they're going to have to use somebody else's airspace to get to them, right? And it's either, Iraq, Saudi. I mean, they're going to have to find a way to get to some of these places to take them out.
I think your point is well taken. And I think that what people don't realize is if what happens here happens the way I think it's going to end up happening, well, then Israel will definitely be put in a position where they're going to refrain from any kind of a skirmish because Iran is being held at bay. And Israel doesn't mind if Iran's being held at bay so long as Iran isn't building up any kind of an arsenal to affect any potential future incursion. So, and it is funny because the major players that we read about in Ezekiel 38, yes, Iran is numbered amongst them, but the leader of this incursionary force is Gog. Gog is the title of a person, presumably the leader of Russia.